Santos, welcome back to TNS Radio, mate.
Yeah.
As you know, we're going out live at the minute. Really unplanned kind of interview. Thanks very much for agreeing. Very short notice at this time in the morning to start going out again. Okay, so we'll pick up kind of where we left off there. You know, if we know that the Bible and the Vatican and everything else is man-made and pretty much hearsay, then what do you reckon the unum sanctum and the se qui vi things are really about? I mean, do we really allow these things to have energy when we breathe energy into them, or do you think that
good question. Very good question. Well, we are now allowing it with our consciousness to disappear. It's a structure. Rome is just an old structure. It's very old, man. It's the product. It's a kingdom of ideas, and the ideas are gone now. They no longer serve mankind. And those ideas were very rigid, man. Rome ruled with an iron rod. And it was foretold in the scriptures that this child would come and rule with an iron rod. And that's Rome, because of the Iron Age. It's lasted about 2,000 years. And we'd just come out of it 300 years ago.
Yeah,
and we've entered...
There's my question there, and I know that we're live on the air and it's very short notice and stuff, Santos, you know, and I do appreciate you as a friend, as a man, as a fellow human being, as a fellow individual, fellow frequency, whatever way you want to describe you and I. Again, you know, you're the guy that's looked into this and studied this, and I'm a guy that's just sitting here asking you questions, yeah? So here's the question that I have for you at this moment in time, is if we believe that all these things, all the scriptures, all the Bibles, all the things, everything is hearsay, se qui vi, so hearsay, it's just a thing that's wrote in a piece of parchment, piece of baby skin, perhaps. I mean, all that is also hearsay as well. Is it possible that we're giving too much energy to this one particular subject, when in actual fact we can only be who we are, what we are, be as influential to other people as we can be, and at the same time realise who we are? And then that beggars me the question to ask yourself, then really, why should we give all that stuff any lip service or energy?
Yeah. Well, that's a useful approach, yes.
I mean, because at the end of the day, I mean, if it's all bullshit, if you want to say it like that, I mean, if it's all bullshit, and it's all hearsay, and it's all conjecture, and it's all assumption and presumption, then is it fair to say that we should just be getting on with our lives regardless of some alleged parchments that's sitting in the Vatican?
Yeah, but we shouldn't be getting on with our lives in the sense of, ignoring that it's going on. We should be getting on with our lives in the sense of transmuting and improving our lives, getting ready for the consciousness, because these people are going to miss out. It's very sad, but the world that you see out there, that Rome, that is the remnants of dying Rome, that's the world that's going to hell, if you like. You know what I mean? It's the world that is going to miss out on the big shift. So, to me, there's only one thing of importance, and that is moving upward in the shift. I'm concerned mostly with that. That's all. I'm doing, as much as possible in a natural way. And here's a very, very important thing, Gary, okay? This is one thing that you can be doing that is very, very important. In fact, it's crucial. If you don't do this, you're in trouble. You're really in trouble. And the two things, they are to sun gaze and to walk on the ground with your bare feet.
Oh yeah.
As much as you can, if not every day.
You got to connect with
Every
the ground.
day.
You got to connect with the ground.
Absolutely. If you're not doing that, forget about ascending.
Yeah. Yeah,
really, because it's going to be very, very difficult. Now, there's a YouTube video called Solar Gazing with HRM. I would recommend to watch that YouTube video, Solar Gazing with HRM. And I've been doing it for a couple of years now. I've been solar gazing and I've been telling everybody, please gaze at the sun. And he teaches how to do it on that video, solar gazing. He teaches that you need to start off with 10 seconds the first time you do it. And the sun must be low on the horizon, either at sunrise or sunset. Because once you've done this for a certain period of time, once you've done it for long enough, you receive enough energy from the sun that you will not have to eat. You don't have to get your energy anymore from secondary sources. Because the primary source of energy is always the sun.
The sun, yeah.
Anywhere you go in the universe, the sun is the king and the ruler of that solar system. Because he is the vital energy and the life giver. Yeah. And all the others are receivers. That's all they are. They all receive from him. That's why he's a him, because the receivers are the females. It's the magnetic force in the universe. Because that spiritual masculine force is projecting itself out and creating forms in this world, you see? But we need to connect with that Father of ours. That's our Father in the sky. And when we do, our pineal gland is re-established as the third eye, and that's it. There's no turning back. We're going back.
The pineal gland, obviously, is a different conversation altogether, you know. What we're talking about now, between ourselves and a few million listeners, Santos, is that, you know, the fact that what I'm basically trying to get to the bottom of here is the inception of the Setui Qui the history of the Bible, the hearsay of this, that, and the next, and the Vatican, right? So here's a question I would like to put in front of you. As you've already stated, you know, the Bible and all this kind of stuff that you're talking about. And I hope you understand where I'm coming from, Santos. I'm trying to ask questions from the listener's point of view, okay? Yep. Me and you have spoken loads of times before. We both know where we're coming from. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to get to the bottom of what you're saying and get to a solution for the situation, right? Now, if I was to say to you, right, okay, the Bible is hearsay, you would agree with that, yeah?
In the historical sense, yes, but not as a scientific document. I mean, that can't be, it really can't be, can that be hearsay? I mean, it's just a document that's really just addressing scientific truths, really.
Well, we've already...
But as a historical document, for sure, it's all hearsay, yes.
Definitely is most historical. At the end of the day, it's historical. Whether it's got any factual evidence, proof, or otherwise is debatable in your eyes, yeah?
Yeah.
Right, okay. So we've established the fact that the Bible could be hearsay as far as historical evidence is concerned, right?
Yep.
Okay, so let's look a little further and a little deeper, and let's say that the Setui Qui documents that you talk about, there's 3 of them, yeah?
Yeah.
Right. Could you give the listeners a wee heads up on what they are, the dates of them, and what they encountered? I mean, I know I covered this in a previous show of my own. In fact, I think it was with yourself was the Setui Qui, I think it was like 14 odds, 1500 and 1600. Could you give us the factual dates, what they're about, and exactly the details of them?
Yeah, okay, well, these Setui KV trusts were set up by various popes through history, through the 1400s through to 1537. The last one was, I think it's Attorney Regis. I may be wrong about the name. I haven't got the document in front of me right now, but I mean, I can get more accurate than this, but the names of them are Attorney Regis, Convocation, and Pontifex Maximus.
Right.
One is the Commonwealth, one is the Crown, and one is your baptism, where they steal your soul. You see, they take your soul. They're third-party debt collectors.
Is that on the baptism? At the minute of baptism?
No. That's when you get a birth certificate. Your birth certificate is your baptism into the Catholic Church.
Yeah, I know what the birth certificate's about, but does that relate to the Catholic Church then?
Oh yeah, man. They are the title holders, man. They're the title holders of your soul. They administer those trusts.
And this is based on the Setui Qui documents, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. And those three are pinned to an earlier document, a papal bull, in 1302 by Pope Boniface VIII. And that papal bull is called Unum Sanctum. And that is the papal bull that tells the world, it's their claim of right, that they're the boss of the world, and they've got the Lord, Jesus, backing them up, the historical one. Therefore, they have God's consent to administer his affairs on the world, and all the souls must go through the Vatican, because salus extra ecclesia non est. And what does that mean? That means outside of the Catholic Church, the universal church, there is no salvation. So it's their job, and they're doing a good job of it.
Right. Okay.
They're just, hey man, it's only business.
Sure.
How do they say it?
See, again, Santos, I mean, I've got questions about these things. You obviously know the way I think, If I says to you right now, okay, I'm going to write down a letter right now, and I'm going to say that Santos Bonacci, for instance, adheres to whatever directive and whatever law, rule, and state of mind that I say that you deal with. Would you actually adhere to that? Would you actually, for instance, if I says to you, Santos Bonacci at the end of every month is going to send me 300 Australian dollars, would you adhere to that? Would you commit to that?
If you put the force of law behind it, like they do, the policeman says, we have the force of law to back us up, and provided they did that, and provided I was unconscious, yes, I would. People are doing it every day. They're paying their rates. They're paying their, you know what I mean? Because they're unconscious. They're not conscious of how they're being robbed. Okay. No idea.
Okay, so educate me on this one then. How is the state of affairs with the Unum Sanctum, the Setui Qui? How is that relevant to the cops that we see on the streets every day? How does that work?
Right, well, they would be the foot soldiers of the Inquisition. That's what they are. They pretend to be public servants. They're public officers, which means that they work for the public. In other words, the corporations. They tell you. you know. And the corporations, they all go back to Rome. They all do. Look, there are people out there who say, oh no, it's the Jews, and oh no, it's the, I don't know. Look, if these elite families are Jewish, which some of them are, well, they're Jewish, you know. If they call themselves Catholic, they don't have religions really. They only serve their bellies. They're unconscious. You see, this is why people getting around saying that reptilians are running the world or whatever. You know, they go to these extremes because yes, they are animals. That's what they are. Hillary Clinton, they're not human beings. They appear to be. They are unevolved. They are the Gentiles. The Bible says that the Gentile times shall rule over the world, and then Christ's kingdom would return. That's the kingdom of consciousness, where Rome falls away and is destroyed by Daniel's, the rock that came out of the mountain and destroyed the image of gold and silver and bronze and iron and clay at the feet. And that kingdom will never be brought to ruin. What's happening now is a destruction of Rome, a systematic destruction of Rome. All fictions are going to vanish. All of them. The Jesus Christ story, the lot of them. All these third-party debt collectors, goodbye. We're going to blow them away because consciousness does not tolerate tax collectors. You know, it's part of the old world. And what will happen is that the people who believe in that world will perish with that world. However that's going to be, I don't know. You know, I'm not the one foretelling it, but all the prophecies I've read, and they're all saying the same thing, because they're all based on precession, the 24,000-year cycle, you see. As the sun goes backward through the zodiac signs, 24,000 years pretty much rounds off the evolution of an incarnating spirit, you see. So when the soul transmigrates and comes down into matter, plunges down like Narcissus when he looks in the mirror, in the water, and he sees himself and he goes, oh, how beautiful I am. Or, as the Bible says it, and the sons of God looked down and saw that the daughters of men were good looking, and the Nephilim were in the land at that time. Because sex, physical lust, and all of these entanglements have brought us down to this place. And when that spirit comes down and enjoys these animalistic lusts and what have you, and does the round of 24,000 years, that pretty much rounds out the whole evolution process, and they should be ready to become a human being, which is the middle kingdom of ascension. And then we enter the astral planes, which is the higher octaves of this invisible but visible world that we live in. We're just going up Jacob's ladder, man, and we should not resist this. The elites are trying to resist it because they're hanging on to their banks, I guess. I don't know, their printing presses of money, so they can just keep eating champagne, caviar and drinking champagne. I don't know. I don't know how animals think anymore. I've left that consciousness. See all
the stuff that you just said there. See all the stuff that you just said. About the Vatican coming down and the end days and all that kind of gear. Yeah. Is that written in the Bible?
Yeah, because the Bible's just another one of those documents that is a registry of astronomical phenomena. That's what they all are. The Mahabharata, the Zendavesta, the Eddas, any one of them. I'll explain them, all of them, because I know the secret. I've got the key. Okay. Well, the key is to understand precession. When you master precession, and you've got to do this in your head, there's a lot of meditating to do and a lot of study. It's scientific study that must be done, but when you understand the backward movement of the sun every 24,000 years, which produces this cycle of necessity, which the elite are denying, and churchgoers are denying, a great scientific fact, because it involves their very, very salvation and their very progression in the scale of evolution. They're going to miss out, man. They're going to really suffer for a lot longer as they have to do more cycles.
Okay.
Who knows how many?
Well, I've got a real serious question for you.
Yep.
Right. Now, the things that you've just said to me previously, maybe 3 minutes ago, 4 minutes ago now, about, these things are coming to pass, things are changing. The church of the man is coming to a halt, and a new enlightenment is happening. Yeah.
Yep.
Basically, what you were saying to me. Now, if that is written in the Bible, and the guys that's in control of the planet at the minute are aware of that, why did they not just write that out of the Bible, so that people like yourself aren't aware of it?
They're aware of the prophecies, for sure, because they.
Yeah, but why did they not delete it from the Bible, so that people like yourself and me and many others are not aware of it, or couldn't be aware of it?
Oh, they've deleted it they've deleted it in the sense that they've reprogrammed the mind of the consensus world by teaching the historical version of it. The historical version in the Gospels is absolutely useless. It's useless. It's not worth even contemplating. It's like, it's like pretending that Humpty Dumpty was a real person, Poor Humpty Dumpty, he fell and, oh God. It's a joke. It really is a joke, and it's laughing out loud now, and especially with my videos, how I've proven beyond doubt that the Bible's all science. It's a scientific document. So it doesn't matter whether it's hearsay, really. But it does, because they're using it as historical still, and people are still believing it. It's amazing how many medicated churchgoers are still believing that it's historical, with all the proof that has dismantled the story to shreds. Abundance of proof. And it annoys me when certain intelligent ones try to get into the truth community, and try to persuade people that, oh yes, but there was a real Jesus, as if trying to attach any kind of a man to the notion of salvation is just ridiculous. Yeah. But they don't understand that there were prophets called Jesus. Josephus mentioned 4 Jesuses, and they were high priests, some of them, in Jerusalem at the time. Of course the Flavians were going to thread these little prophets into the story and fabricate it and make it realistic. They've done a great job. It's a masterpiece. It's their brainchild, and man, oh man, they've harvested. They have harvested and harvested and harvested in every sector of human life for the last 2,000 years, and they've killed you for going against it. Just ask the millions who have perished, the Huguenots, the Waldenses, the Socinians, the Lollards in Scotland, the Huguenots in southern France, and the Cathars and the Bogomils and the Jews in Spain, and my God, the list goes on. They've murdered and plundered.
So, okay,
wow, what a...
All these names that you've given me, okay, and I'm
yep.
particular to Scotland. The guys that you mentioned in Scotland, what's the reference to them? What is the deal with them?
The Lollards, well, that was, I think it was, William Tyndale was burned alive for translating the Bible into, John Huss was burned alive. John Calvin was a murderer. He killed Michael Servetus. Michael Servetus was going around teaching more of the Hermetic wisdom because of the Enlightenment of the Renaissance. But, of course, these killers, Martin Luther and all of these guys, people don't realise they are corporate bosses of a fiction called Protestant Christianity. It's just another version of the same lie. Because it's still elites. They are still the elites.
It's just a division.
The Russell... Yeah, for instance, the Russell family that founded the Jehovah's Witnesses. That's an elite bloodline, one of the 13. The 13 real heavy bloodlines. And the Mormons, the Joseph family, the Smith family rather. That's an elite bloodline. Man, these guys are at it all the time. They're a plague. They're animals. They are controlled by the dark satellite, which is the human chakra, the animal chakra of the earth. The earth, which is an individual, a being, Gaia, our physical mother, is breathing and living and being raped by these elites, by the way. But her animal chakra has been at perihelion for 2,000 years, which means the animalistic, what you see as above, so below, the animalistic behaviour of killing and murdering and plundering is because these people are perfectly and directly descendants of this the incarnated entities from this dark satellite. They incarnate down into this earth, and this is where you get all these stories about reptilians and, you know, off-worlders and all stuff like that. It's all part of the solar system, these entities, you know. And they're just unevolved. And they are animals. So look at them. They rejoice every time they start a war. Oh, Libya, we've killed Colonel Gaddafi. It's so great how we sodomized him with a knife. And, oh, it's just so stupendous that we've murdered, you know, and we've sent all our 18-year-old boys, mind-controlled boys, to, you know, do some target practice because we've got all these military industrial complex hardware that we have to start, you know, using up, you know, and not stockpiling so that we can keep people employed in the game of killing to protect the pirate families' holdings, which are the evil corporations raping Mother Earth.
So, are you actually suggesting then that for buy everything, Santos, are you actually suggesting then that the reptilian, Anunnaki, all these things does actually exist?
You know, I'm not the person to ask that question because I haven't really studied all this enough. I've sort of steered away from Zechariah Sitchin because there's something about him that gives me the creeps, really. You know, I don't trust his work. And when I get the creeps about something, I steer away from it. So there's some truth in there, and that will be deciphered in due time. I'm not going to be an expert on that, but I know one thing for sure, that all the evil that is being done is animalistic. It's not from conscious beings. Conscious beings know the universal law that you must not destroy energy. Anyone going around wasting energy is destroying the progress of life and will be punished. That's in the universe. That's universal law, full stop. And they know that they are going to be punished, man. They know that when they die in this incarnation, whoa, there is hell to pay. So they're going to bring down the rest of this world with them. That's what they're doing. They're trying to bring it down, crash it all, because they're going to hell, man. The consciousness that is coming is not for them. Goodbye. You're not welcome.
Okay, so the euro's going to crash, yeah?
Oh, it has to crash. Everything materialistic, the whole delusion, the whole illusion is crashing.
Yeah, it's got to crash.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, it's got to crash. It's got to go that way.
Hallelujah.
So,
and look, if we do enough sun gazing in the next 7 months, I believe you only have to sun gaze for 7 months. And according to all these wonderful, spiritual, enlightened people getting around teaching this, you can see it on YouTube, as I said, you won't have to eat. Now, I know that it's true. People can laugh. I don't care. So, if you don't have to eat, you can get off the grid. Simple as that. The grid will not exist if enough people can learn the truth that the food business is kicking out there, getting out there, generating a lot of money, especially the meat industry where they murder and torture animals, and we eat that tortured meat. These elite families that run these businesses don't need to, because all we have to do as enlightened, conscious human beings is stare at the sun, as all the masters have ever said, and you know, if you do 7 months of it, and you don't need to eat, because the sun. Yeah.
Mate, I respect exactly, you know, what you're about and the message that you're trying to get out there, but I really do have a problem. I need to say this, you know what I mean? I really do have a problem with thinking that staring at the sun is going to alleviate any food shortage.
Yeah, I understand. I know this, but this is why this knowledge has been hidden from us to destroy us, because. And this is what the Bible says, that my children shall perish for lack of knowledge. And they have left the ways of Jehovah. Jehovah is the sun. And the ways of Jehovah is to be attached to the sun, because it is our vitalizer. It is our only source of energy. And Jehovah is a jealous God. If we start going to secondary forms of, getting energy, that is basically once upon a time, that was a sin. And that's where agriculture started and all of this, storing up and stockpiling food for the belly and for the lust of the belly. They've hidden this knowledge from us. They've hidden that we have the ability to transcend having to eat.
But if we've basically established that the Bible is based on hearsay, then how can everything else be or relevant? Do you see what I'm saying?
Well, if you understand their scientific, thinking process, it's all occult knowledge and wisdom that helps one to uncover the secrets of ascension, because that's what the Hermetic wisdom is all about. The Egyptians developed it over thousands of years, and we're talking a very, very conscious race.
Yeah, I kind of look at things, sorry for interrupting me, I kind of look at things in black and white, and I kind of say, well, wait a minute, if the Bible is to be disregarded as hearsay, then why should we pull it into play in the assumption that staring at the sun, gazing at the sun is going to feed us? Because it says it's in the Bible. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, it doesn't say it it doesn't say it in a literal way. It's hidden. It's poetry.
Where is it hidden? Where is it hidden? Where is that? Where is that part of the Bible that says that?
All right. Well, have a look at Revelation. The whole book of Revelation's got nothing to do with anything happening on the historical plane. It is the initiation of, let's call him Saint John for the sake of this discussion, okay? Because that's what it's called. The revelation that was given to Saint John.
Yeah.
Well, the revelation that was given to him was the initiation of Saint John. You see, when he opens the 7 seals, the 7 seals are the 7 chakras, the 7 spiritual organs that we have in our body, the endocrine system. And when we get those activated one at a time, and we go up into the higher chakras, into the pineal gland, and activate it, and believe you me, you will know when it's been activated, because consciousness is different forevermore. It will never be the same. Mm-hmm. You will always see the world and reality how it really is. Mm-hmm. The consensus world will never trick you. And he says, and he saw this, and he burst the 7 seals, and he saw the Lamb standing upon Mount Zion with the 144,000. Well, the 144,000, those saints, oh, let the saints go marching in. Oh, Lord, I want to be in that number. Well, that number, that 144... Sorry?
I'm saying, hold on to get my tambourine.
That number is the 144,000. Well, that's the pineal gland. You see, the pineal gland has 1,000 rays, 1,000 petals. By the way, I prefer to use the expression rays, because the chak Ra, that's Ra, the Egyptian god Ra, and you've got 7 Ra's in your body, or 7 emanations from Ra, from the sun. You see, so the chak Ra's, the highest one, is the pineal gland. And it has 1,000 rays. The one below that has 96. The one below that, 16, the throat chakra. The one below that, the heart chakra, 12. Then 8, then 6, then 4. So if you add up the numbers of the 6 bottom chakras, you come to 144. Multiplied by the top one, the crown, the Lamb of God that stands upon Mount Zion, you get 144,000. So when you become christened or enlightened, you are one of the 144,000 and you are saved. And away you go. That is the initiation of St. John. He's talking about all those beasts that come from the sea, the red beast and the red dragon. That's all in your body. They are the lower chakras. The lower chakras are your enemies in a sense. Because if you're living there, in the power, in the survival mode of the lower chakras, where most of the world is, that's dangerous. That's absolutely dangerous. If you've not discovered the higher chakras by living in a higher way, then you miss out on the consciousness, Gary, you see. And that's what it is. That's what the return of the Christ is. The Bible's just poetry, man. I mean, write it off as history. Forget it. You know, hearsay, yes it is. I mean, I'm exposing that it's absolute buffoonery to put your physical, historical trust in the Bible. It's got no value at all. No value at all. Absolutely none at all.
Let's turn it from the Bible to law. Yeah? Now, if we're saying that the Bible is hearsay, or the majority of it is hearsay, then would we not be required to kind of think to ourselves that at the end of the day, you know, the C'est qui vit and all the rest of that kind of stuff, all the stuff that's been wrote down from the Vatican right back from 4 BC right through would be hearsay, and also it would be irrelevant to what we're about right now.
Yeah, well, absolutely. It's. I
mean, listen. At the end of the day, what I'm saying,
it's irrelevant, isn't it? Really.
What I'm trying to say, Santos, is, you know, basically, listen. See, if I don't go to a court case and they find me guilty in my court case, well, they can find me guilty in my absence. They can hang me in my absence if they like.
Mm.
Do you know? Because
at
the end of the day, I'm not there. I'm not having it. I'm not doing it. I'm not admitting.
That's right.
Do you know? See.
That's right. And as people awaken to this, Gary, as they do awaken to this, then their courts will be ineffectual, and they are ineffectual already, and they will be, and they're just going to disappear. They will have to disappear because people won't be turning up to go to them, and their business will just dry up. They are wolves in sheep's coverings.
Without being detrimental to your own information, then, would that not be detrimental to your own information? Where you're saying, yeah, it's inconsequential, where, you know, that information there isn't relevant to me. Whether, you know, I mean, me personally, Santos, if there is papal bulls that exist, you know, 1492, 15 odds, where they say C'est qui vit, and these things affect my life, and they're papal bulls that's locked in the Vatican vaults, I couldn't give a flying tumshy, basically, whether there's things in there or whether there's no, because it doesn't affect me. And the reason it doesn't affect me is because I don't allow it to affect me.
Yeah.
Would that not go? Would that not go hand in hand with freedom and sovereignty and being yourself and self-law and self-rule?
Of course. Take your freedom, run. You're free.
Yeah. So
you've set yourself free. You are now living in dominion, and it will never change. You have found it. It is yours forever in whatever life you wish to manifest, because you've uncovered it. You've uncovered a big secret. And you should pat yourself on the back and run with it. The truth will set you free, and that's what you've done. And to do that, you've got to be conscious. Unconscious people can't do it. That's why you look around and you think, well, why aren't these people? Why are they going to court? Why are they still buying and selling and eating and drinking? And they've got no idea of what's really going on. Well, because they can't. You know, my dog can't compose a tune on the guitar. Because even though my dog is so intelligent and beautiful, she just can't play music. And so I shouldn't expect her to. So what do you do? What do you do, Gary? Let's hope that this knowledge spreads and people understand and, you know, say goodbye to the fiction.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you know, what we've got to do here, Santos, is get the message out to people that, you know, bottom line, okay, there might be a piece of paper written somewhere down in the Vatican that's held in the vaults of the Vatican, yeah? That says that we possess your soul, we possess your property, we possess you, yeah?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if that doesn't affect you in your everyday to day life, as in right now, at this moment, right now in time, then it doesn't affect you.
Mhm.
Because if you've never heard of it, then it's just hearsay as well.
Yep.
Just
Yep.
very like the very same Bible that we're talking about. If you think you've got scriptures and Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the Testaments, which was written in hearsay, and I'm basing my dialogue right now on hearsay. The first Testament was 70 years after Jesus Christ allegedly was hung, drawn, and quartered, or hung on the cross. The next one was like 150 years. The next one was maybe 300 years. The next one was maybe 700 years.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's all based on hearsay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And we
Sure.
can only live our life in the now. We can't live our life based on the fact that somebody says to us that 5, 6, 700, 1,000, 2,000 years ago, X, Y, and Z says to us that there is a piece of paper that lies in a vault that dictates the way that we are going to have to live our life. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Yep. It's real. Whew, it's real antiquated thinking, isn't it? It's really antiquated. It doesn't work.
Well, to me, it's kind of real simple. There is only now.
Yeah.
I'm speaking.
Yeah. Let's get with the now. Let's get with the now.
Exactly.
Forget about the past and the future. It's now.
Yeah.
All the action.
So, would you kind of say, I mean, I know what you're talking about, and I know you speak passionately about the subject that you've got in your head there, about the Vatican and this, that, and the next thing, and papal bulls and setuiquivis and all this kind of stuff, scriptures and all the rest of it. But at the end of the day, Santos, basically, it's just now.
Yeah. Well, you obviously are aware of Kate of Gaia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've been talking to Kate, well, of course you would know regularly. We've been together on your show. We've done the Sovereign Round Table there in Canada a few times together. And I'm going with what Kate says about lose the name, and just walk away. Lose the name.
Well, I would totally agree, because at the end of the day, listen, speaking from a kind of factual law point of view, okay?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, what's the best way I can explain this? If I was a guy that was walking along the street, Santos, and I was wearing a big yellow fluorescent jacket, for instance, okay, and I stepped up to you and I says to you, "What's your name?" Here's another way of doing it, right? Okay. Do you know any knock jokes, Santos?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Give me a knock joke.
Oh, wow.
Straight off the top of the head. Doesn't matter. Knock. Just give me it.
Oh, I haven't done one for years.
Knock.
Who's there?
No, you give me the
Oh, you want me to say knock? Oh, mate, I don't... Oh, God, I forget him.
Doesn't matter. Just go for it.
All right, knock.
Who's there?
Tom.
I don't recognise you, Tom. Now fuck off.
All right, that's what you're getting at. Yeah, good on you. Yeah. Yeah. I don't recognise you. I don't recognise you. If you say it 3 times, that's pretty much enough, and just walk away.
You don't need to say it 3 times. You just don't recognise them, and you just go. Right? When you're bringing it into law, These guys that wear yellow fluorescent jackets, at the end of the day, they have no more authority over you and I than I have authority over you or I.
Yeah.
Right? And at the end of the day, basically, you are the boss. You're the boss.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Is there a complaint? Is there a charge? Is it civil or criminal? See, that's the thing that deludes people. A lot of people go to court. Why they go to court, I just don't have a clue why they go to court. You already know that a court summons is an invite. So we go to court, and then the judge turns round, the guy with the wig turns round and says, well, okay, you're here, why are you here? I don't want to be here, I'm the third party agent, I'm the this, I'm the that, I'm the next thing, I'm the third party litigant, I'm the agent of necessity, whatever way people want to describe themselves while they're standing in front of a judge. The first part of the fact is, when you turn up at court, you've contracted. Second part is, when you go and you use the name, you're actually contracting as well. Regardless of,
oh yeah.
You know, if you turn and say, I'm Joe Bloggs of I'm Gary of the Collins family, I'm Santos of the Bonacci family. So you're contracting that way, you know?
Yeah.
You could go in and say, you know, I'm the third party guarantor. Now here's the thing I try to explain to people, Santos. You know, let's say for instance, right, you couldn't afford to purchase a car outright, right? It's maybe $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 or whatever, okay? And you get your family member, your mother, your brother, your sister, your father, your uncle, whatever, to go guarantor for you. Well, if anything goes wrong with that payment, who is going to be liable for it?
You broke up. You're asking who's going to be liable for the payment if you rock up to court? It's you.
If your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your uncle, your whoever, you or whatever is guarantor for that payment, and you defaulted on that payment, who's liable for
that? Well, it's you.
Yeah. So that then leads to when, if you go to court, A, you're contracting, B, you've turned up, you've got subject matter, you've got jurisdiction, and thirdly, you've got, if you're the guarantor, well, apart from subject matter jurisdiction, you've got the guy, the judge is going to say to you, I don't give a fuck who you say you are. Because I've got the guy that I need to talk to right in front of me.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, spot on.
Yeah. A, you've acted in fraud. B, you've contracted. You've given them subject matter jurisdiction. And thirdly, you're the guarantor. The judge doesn't give a shit who the fuck you think you are. You're standing there in front of him talking to him. So you're liable. So if something goes wrong within that case and you don't know what you're doing, you better get your ass. You better know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because your ass is liable. So folks, the message here is, don't turn up to court unless you know what you're doing.
Yeah. Yep.
Bottom line. Santos, let's get back onto what you're talking about. Anything else you want to be,
Look, I really would like to encourage people to really do the research about, sun gazing, because I know it sounds outrageous, And look, I'm not at all sort of advocating that everybody do this, but and I'm eating food. I mean, I'm still I'm not saying I'm a breatharian or I'm striving for this. I'm striving for knowledge, and knowledge is the facts are that the ancients taught one thing of most importance in life, in conscious life, and that is to sun gaze. Number one rule for consciousness. And what happened is we lost this science about 5,000 years ago, and it was not being taught to subsequent generations, you see. Mm-hmm. And that is the biggest of all sins. The sun is our the greatest friend and benefactor. It's the solar consciousness. In fact, true Gnostic Christians who knew the science, the Hermetic science, they were called Helio-Gnostics. That was their name, Helio-Gnostics. That means sun knowers. It's so important because the consciousness of the sun is so so important for saving the consciousness and growing it and evolving as a race, mm-hmm. as a human being, mm-hmm. and as a hero. As we go into the hero age, according to Hesiod, we've slipped from gold through silver, through bronze, and then hero, and then the Iron Age. So we're stepping up. Because we go round and round in these cycles, We've had a pounding in the Dark Ages. We've been pounded, man. We've absolutely been tortured and brutalized. It's been traumatic the last couple of thousand years. It's gone amok. It's really gone bad, rotten, pear-shaped. And now is the time it's going to be restored. The old way of living is going to be restored. And people will have less dependency on technology because everything will be done in the mind. Everything will be done, we will do everything. We will have all of our senses activated. 360 senses. Slowly but surely they will all be activated in this time that is coming. And, preparedness is very, very important. I mean, if you don't prepare, for instance, by, I don't know, general stuff, like improving your way you treat people and everything like that. Oh, that's a good place to start. Having more love, having more consciousness, refusing to play along with the stupid little games of this world and its entanglements. Just general stuff. Mm-hmm. Making improvements every day is what nourishes the soul, Yeah. It nourishes our spiritual, trans-dimensional selves on a higher level. Mm-hmm. And we can improve our health. There's no health problem, according to this Indian man who's very, very wise man, solar gazing. He says that we can dissolve all physical illness by sun gazing, all of it. If we do it properly, and it's easy to do, you just stare at the sun. That's all you do. At the horizon, early morning and late evening. Just look at the sun. But you've got to do it the way he says. You start with 10 seconds, then 20 seconds, and, you build it up until eventually you can do it for, 10 minutes a time or something. And this will build up all the solar energy and activate all the crystals in your body, your pineal gland. It will reactivate everything, and bang, 360 senses will come online. It's like, driving a proper car. You go from a Mini Minor to a Rolls Royce, in one hit. That's what's happening, man. It's happening. And, if we deny this, and ignore it, it's only to our detriment. It can only be true. It can only be true. Things don't go worse. Things get better. They must. We're getting better. We're becoming better. We're becoming a better model. We're rising. We're rising, man. We're being the true sovereign that we're supposed to be. The prodigal son has returned. A better version.
Santos, I don't believe for 1 minute that human beings, and you can look at law books and say that, according to this book, humans are now monsters and da. That's just dictation. That's just, usage of language that people or the law society want to use about human beings, or the elite want to use about human beings, that we're monsters now.
Yep.
The thing is, right, at the end of the day, right, I don't know any guy or any woman that basically wants to beat up, hurt, harm, steal, rape, kill, or otherwise, create some sort of disaster for some other human-based entity, and the thing that we've all got to do is basically get back to basics, to realise who we are, what we're about, and just be us. There is no hate in the world. It's only the elite that create the hurt in the world. It's the elite that create the situations, the corporate situations that happen in the world, and therefore the corporate situations have employees which have to carry out the rules of that corporation, which then leads people to be in fear of this, that, that, and the next thing. It's all bullshit. And people have just got to stop, slow down, and get a grip. Take control.
Get a grip.
Just take control.
Those things we've been indoctrinated that those things exist. It's an indoctrination. They don't exist.
It's almost like hearsay. I'm sorry to say that, but it's almost like hearsay. That's the way it is, and that's the way we've got to play it. And that's the way people are starting to perceive things. Oh, this is the way it is, so that's what we've got to do.
Hallelujah. If that means anything. I mean, if it means anything. I think I love saying hallelujah because it's a little bit sort of sarcastic in the face of the people who say it and think, and think, oh, Jesus, that sort of thinking type, medicated, churchgoer sort of, person. But anyway, I mean, that's negative. Look, you're spot on. Focus on the positive things and say goodbye to the fictions. See them for what they are. Know who you are. Know that you are all that there is and that all that is important. And when you know that, then you know that everybody else is important and you love them. Exactly. And everybody else is important.
We are just, what are we? How would we describe us, Santos? How would we describe us? We are just entities upon our frequencies, upon a big rock that's hurtling through space.
Yep. And they call that a soul, an anima. And for the lower kingdoms, they put an end on the end. They put an L on the end of that, an L, and they call them animals. But anima, the root for the word animal, that means soul. You see, dogs, cats, they have souls, but different to the beautiful human soul that we've got. We're so lucky. 7 chakras. We are a Rolls Royce. We're in the Middle Kingdom. This entity is a pretty special entity. It's now acknowledged its divinity, and it's saying goodbye to its lower anima, its lower animal. It's saying, well, it's been good down here. We've enjoyed, the sex. We've enjoyed the wine. We've enjoyed keeping up with the Joneses. I had a beautiful car. I had a beautiful house. I had a beautiful leather couch and everything like that. And it's great. Those things are great. They're material. They're beautiful. They're wonderful. But they are not all that is. All that is you. So nourish you. Nourish that you-ness, that beautiful part of the whole. And once you realise that the interrelatedness of all things and the interrelatedness of you with everything else, unity consciousness and just pure bliss comes to you. Even though the world is able to sort of charge you up with anxiety and pressures, but nonetheless, we still enjoy the bliss. I enjoy the bliss. There's a lot of shit going on, and going down, and a lot of trouble, and people dying around you, and I just had a flu for 3 weeks. That's not nice. But nonetheless, I'm in bliss mode because I know who I am. There's nothing more beautiful than this. Nothing more beautiful. No one can take that away from you. That's what it says in the Gospels. Let them kill your body, but they cannot kill your soul. Your knowing, your awareness of you, once you've got it, then you keep it.
Yeah.
When you're not aware of you, you lose it.
We've already kind of ascertained, though, Santos, that the Gospels are hearsay, yeah?
Yeah, oh yeah.
So we must disregard them then. Sure.
Yeah. Well, in a sense, yeah, for sure. Absolutely must be disregarded. In a historical sense.
I mean,
you know?
what would you say, right, is a solution, if you're interested in this particular topic? You've got your information, you know how you are, you know who you are, you know how you are, and you know what the information that you have, right? So, what would you say if somebody called in right now? And by the way, guys, I know that there's some of you listening. If you want to call in, Scottish Sovereign Skype name or Gary.Collins190569. If you want to call in and ask Santos or myself any particular question, then just go on the Skype blower and call in and ask. Santos, what would you say if one of the listeners right now was listening and says, well, that's very fine and good, all this information that we're getting is nice, it's good stuff, but how do we deal with the property tax? How do we deal with getting the house taken off us? How do we deal with the getting arrested from the cops? How would you deal with that?
Well, that's big, man. That is big. Well, I would deal with it by first of all losing the name and going through that process for a start. Yeah, that's a must. Get out of her Babylon the Great if you do not want to share with her in her sins. What that means is if you're going to hang around with Babylon, Rome, Babylon Mark II, and you're going to be subscribed to all her doings and registered with her and begging to her, you're going to be involved in her sins, and her sins are that they're going to come and take you home, and they're going to steal your property, and they're going to throw you in prison. That's what it is. So losing the name, that's it. That's the starting point, isn't it? Wouldn't you do that, Gary?
Well, it goes without reason. It goes without substantiating as well. Basically,
that's the start. Because how are they going to get you? How are they going to get you in prison if you don't agree? And they don't know who you are.
See, if you sign yourself in, put it this way. If a policeman, a police constable, police officer asks you your name, he's going to say to you, what's your name? You're going to say, I'm Santos Bonacci. You've just given them your slave name. You've just given them the corporation name. You've just given them contract. You've just given them subject matter jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And when you turn up to court, and you stand in the dock being based on admiralty law. Look at a court, guys. A court is based on a ship. It looks like a ship.
Yeah.
You get the dock, then you bring into play the birth certificate, and you get the birth certificate, and a ship's birth certificate or a birth cert could basically, before anything gets off the ship captain has got to release the ship certificate. So at the end of the day, you get into court, you step into a dock, you give the birth certificate name, you give yourself, you give your slave name, you're fucked.
Oh yeah.
You got to live by the
Oh
rules of
yeah,
corporation.
we call that rooted in this country. Do you have that word?
Well, we have that word, but we don't know whether we use it or not. I don't know.
Well, it's exactly the same as the word you just used. You're rooted, and when you're rooted, you're fucked. So it's a sad situation in the world. It's like it's like a farm. You know, you see those cows in the abattoir, how they just walk up that ramp. Man, oh man, the only reason they're walking up the ramp is because they were herded into because the fence tells them to, and the guy standing behind them prodding them with the electric thing, you know, and you know, that's what the world looks like. It looks like that. Yep. Man, people are being herded into shopping malls to buy Christmas presents.
You must consume.
Sorry?
I'm saying you must consume.
You must buy more things. Things are good,
yep.
Especially from the big corporations, big
yep.
nasty things. Buy them and dispose of them and get new ones quickly.
Yeah. And when you buy the new Xbox, be guaranteed that the next Xbox is already in design.
Yeah, it's called Planned Obsolescence, and there's a good documentary on it. You know, there's light globes kicking around on the planet that have been going for over 100 years. In fact, there's one in California, and they have a birthday for it every year. But it's this light globe that just won't die, because you can make light globes that don't die. But they want to give it a short life, so that you have to get a new one and then fill up all these rubbish dumps. But it generates cash. And the banksters love this. That enables them to have their cocktail parties, for goodness sakes, while the rest of the world is going to hell. So planned obsolescence, another one of the elite's little toys. They've got all these little toys that are no longer relevant.
I believe we've got a caller. Is it Eddie?
Oh no, this is Ravana 9000.
Oh, how you doing?
Hey.
Okay.
How you guys doing tonight?
How you doing, mate? You okay?
Right.
Yes, it's a great show. Awesome.
You're live on TNS Radio, mate.
I just had a question for Santo.
Okay.
Could you go into the theory of the Vatican's spiritual warfare and how they... The example I was thinking is when they went into Australia, they took the Aboriginal children and they made them walk the song lines wearing Western clothing as an example of how they used that as a ritual to emplace their system onto the belief system of the Aboriginals. And to me, that's black magic. Could you go into that a little bit, maybe?
Yeah, that's reprogramming. You see, the Christian corporations have been doing this all over the planet, and when they don't get their way, they will cause a government or a region to be fragmented, like North Korea, South Korea, North Vietnam, South Vietnam, East Timor. What they do is they divide and conquer. You see, when they don't get their way of reprogramming. And they've done this in Bosnia with the Muslims, you know, with the Bosnian War and everything like that. What they want is to insert their corporations, and their corporations, believe you me, all of them, they're all Christian. This third-party saviour is their saviour. It's not ours. Never will be. It's theirs. It saves them because by people believing in it, they believe that the governments are allowed to pull in taxes because they've got Jesus sanctioning it, you know, and they've got him as a basis. But you'll find that what they do is they go in and reprogram the indigenous people, because the indigenous people are walking on the earth with their bare feet. and gazing at the sun and doing these spiritual practices which keep them nourished spiritually and soulfully. But Christianity comes along with its death-like, its cold, chilling, cruel, and blasphemous nature of stripping people of their divinity and reducing them to a sinful, slave-like worm and a grub and a groveler and a beggar to God. If you've ever seen, Monty Python's works, the Holy Grail, where God says, "Oh, just to stop groveling. I hate this groveling." You see, because that's what they do. They're beggars now. They're all slaves and beggars going off to church to be saved. The elites are loving it. They're loving it. They're pumping so much money into it, and they reprogram people with what they already know instinctively, intuitively. Every human that is alive and knows, they already know who they are. But they're stripped of this knowledge, in the first 7 years by the reprogramming and re-education system. For the indigenous, they did that by herding them into their schools or otherwise chopping their heads off. And with Westerners, like ourselves, they told us to go to a state school. And if you don't, there'll be trouble. And your parents can lose their children. And they did. Many did, and were relocated. If you look at the website VaticanCrimes.us, mind-boggling. The work of Kevin Annett, mind-boggling. There's plenty of exposure now. It's over.
Yeah, I'm going to be talking to the local tribal council. I was supposed to go and talk to them today, but I was not able to do it. And I know that there's a residential school here also, and I'm going to try to talk to them and see what stories I can find out. But what would be your opinion on... Okay, I got to think of how to frame this. The Holy See. The Holy See being water, okay? They base it all on the law of the land versus the law of the water. It seems to me that all of the Vatican law tries to be portrayed as ruling the seas and the waters, and then if you go back before that, you have the ancient treaties, which is the law of the land. And they keep trying to superimpose the law of the sea over the top of the law of the land. Is that your opinion?
Yeah, oh yeah. That's why they call it the Holy See. The Vatican and the Holy See. That's their maritime law. They've imposed it on us. So they treat us as lost at sea. So we have to pretty much conform to their sea laws. They're pirates. I mean, they tell you with that. They're actually telling you, aren't they?
Well, right. I mean, even your ID card is a citizenship card. Jesus, they talk about Jesus, how he walked on the water. He parted the seas, did this. Moses being saved from the water. It all goes back to the water.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. The birth certificate was once spelled B-E-R, B-E-R, birthing.
Yes. Like
not B-I-R.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these people, they've been at it. They've done a great job, man. Look, you got to hand it to them. They've run the best corporation in history. This is why corporations like Shell and BP, they can get away with. Man, they kill... look, Shell would probably kill probably about 50 very, very important people a year. People who are exposing them, trying to take them to court, and resisting them. I would say that's an underestimate. That's pretty conservative. That's 50 a year. Yeah, I've got a list of... remember the BP oil scandal in the Gulf? I've got a good list of about 40 people that were killed. Yeah. Very, very, very important people. They were murdered. Man, they know how to run corporations, man. Fear and killing. They hire all the best. They hire all the best lowlife on the planet that are mind controlled and trained to kill and assassinate. I mean, you only have to look at the videos of. Have you ever seen Michael Prince?
I've heard that name. Yes.
Yeah, check out his videos. Michael Prince. He's a hitman, and he tells you that he's still in service, and he's hitting on a regular basis, man. He has to do his killing. That's his job. And he talks about mind control and how the CIA and all of this works. These guys, the corporations run on fear and terror and killing and the threat of death. Most of the executives are under the threat of life because, you know, they're all bribed and they've all been, you know, they all get, what's the word?
Blackmail.
Yeah, blackmail, all of that. Yeah, it's putrid. It's putrid world.
Well, you got to think about it. They learned from the best. I mean, they learned from the Vatican, and the Vatican learned it from the hash eaters, Hassan I-Sabah, and the assassins of Alamat.
Yep.
I mean, that was really the first that we can trace back to, probably the first intelligence agency. I mean, Sabah had agents in every single government in Europe, mid-Africa, you know, the crescent along the Mediterranean and the Middle East. Just amazing.
Yeah, they were good.
Yeah, how did he do it? You know the story of how he made his brainwashed slaves?
Yeah, he doped them out on opium, and he brought them to paradise to be with all these beautiful virgins, and they would dose them high on drugs, and these guys would have lustful weeks of pleasure, just pure bliss. And then, of course, when they bring them down, they tell them, right, that's where you're going. That's heaven. Now get out there and do some killing to get there.
Well, you're missing a step. Hold on. Because, they take him into the garden, and, you know, they keep him drugged up, and they give him the women and the wine and the, you know, the milk and honey and everything. But then they drug him again, and they take him to a city where they've never been and they don't know anyone. They dress him in a white robe with a red sash. And that was the mark that they were basically newly awakened or whatever, or reborn. And so you come from heaven, and all of a sudden you're in a city, you don't know anyone, you're drugged out of your mind, and you probably can't even speak the language. You know, and eventually someone would come up to you and say, you know, hey, you should follow me and I'll help you out. And then they start saying, okay, I need you to do this, I need you to do that, I need you to do this. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Heaven and hell.
Yeah, and this is why people are fearful of, organisations that they should be fearful of guys like, you know, the CFRs and the Skull and Boners and all those Bohemian Grove types, because what they've done, the Catholic system has cleverly co-opted the original Hermetic mystery school system, you know, and they'll come along and overtake the Masonic system. They've done that beautifully. They're all been taken over, the Templars and everything. Everyone who was striving toward, you know, organisations that were striving to and keep enlightenment going, of course, underground, because you can't do that, you know, in the open. And this is why people think that they're one and the same. No, the Catholic Church has infiltrated these organisations, you see. Infiltrated them, all of them. In fact, you know, I was Jehovah's Witness, right, for instance. Now, I know for a fact that Russell, even though he was an elite, I know that he was teaching some really, really good, sincere truths, because he was teaching a lot of Hermetic wisdom about the pyramids, etc. And then he was murdered on the 31st of October, 1916, in the middle of the First World War, by Rutherford. Rutherford was the new president of the Watchtower Society. He was a Jesuit. He was a Vatican boy. He was sent in to, take over, because Russell was teaching that vaccination is absolutely evil. He was teaching stuff like, neutrality in wars and things like that. He was teaching a lot of real radical stuff, you see. But Rutherford came in and knocked him off. He was murdered. And by the way, 31st of October, that's the day when you want to murder someone. That's Assassination Day. Indira Gandhi, River Phoenix. I've got a list. There's a list there. You can check it out. Because it's the Halloween, eve of Halloween, you see. That's the death day.
Right.
Pretty much.
Well, there's actually two holidays there, correct? There's the All Hallows Eve, and then there's the All Saints Day, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
See,
right.
I personally, I like Halloween because, you dress up in the costume and whatever. As far as the history goes, if you understand the actual background of where it came from, most people really wouldn't go out and do it if they understood the background. But my personal interest right now is the 420, April 20th, because they keep seeming to try to impress this date on us, and it's that 420 to May 1st, the Beltane rituals. Would you go talk about that a little bit, please?
Yeah, well, I have done in my videos. I forget which one, but I have discussed these dates that turn up. For instance, the 20th of April. The first Waco that happened on the 20th of April. That's the day of sacrifice, Beltane, you see, and it's the festival of Flora. But it's the end of Aries, and Aries is when you do your killing, because Aries is ruled by Mars. Mars is martial. And so, it's a sacrifice by fire. In their perverted, inverse way of doing things, because they are animals,
right.
They are true animals. They've discovered this science, the conscious science of astrology, etc., but they use it for evil purposes, because it works. It's very powerful. Waco happened then. Oklahoma City bombing happened on the 20th of April. On the 19th of April, you had Columbine massacre. On the 19th of April, you had the BP oil spill. All jobs. These are all jobs that occur. Right on, even your stock, the major stock market crashes of history, they all happened between the 19th of October and the 25th of October. The three major ones in history, 1929, 1987 and 2007, right? Let's see, when you go in to take over a country illegally, you'll do that on the eve of the equinox of March. So you'll do it on March the 20th. That's when George Bush went in to bring democracy to Iraq because Saddam Hussein tried to kill his daddy. That was on the 20th. Yeah, that was on the 20th of March in 1993, and it was dubbed the 6-week war because it happened right between the equinox and May Day, the 1st of May.
Yep.
And so they tell you, they rub it in your face, they tell you, it's a 6-week war, because to them it's a 6-week sacrifice to their god, whoever, I don't know who it is, they profess to have. But their god is their belly. Nothing interests them other than their belly and riches and power, because they're animalistic. They don't have consciousness to go up into the heart chakra to be able to think with the heart chakra. It's not activated. These are people that are not activated. They are the Gentile scum of the earth, animals who are poisoned by the doctrines of churches. Because what does church mean? Church comes from Circe. Circe is the one in the Odyssean, the Odyssey, that turns Odysseus's men into swine. Yep. Because that's what they're telling you. Circe is the church. It's the moon. The moon is the church. And the moon is the first heaven. And if you don't have a human vibration when you die, you get bounced off the first ring of the moon. The moon is Circe. It's the church. And so what they're telling you is if you go to church, well, you're being herded into church because you are an animal. And you need indoctrination. You need sodomizing, and you need to be medicated, and you need to be told lies, and we spew vomit all over you, and you believe it because you're imbeciles and you don't have the evolution to understand that it's all a fantasy. It's all their pedophile fantasy that they herd you into church for. And they call people sheep. Oh yeah, well, because they fleece them, they pull the wool over their eyes, and they lead them to the slaughter, just like sheep.
Yep.
They don't, man, they tell you what they're going to do to you.
Yeah, let me backtrack a second here. Okay. Circe turning Odysseus' men into swine, okay? That reminded me of the Celtic legends of, I don't remember who it was, but it was the Elven king who was the swineherd. And if none of the humans could eat the swine because it was the food of the gods and they would live forever.
Yeah.
And then the progression went through to, well, okay, if pig is the food of the gods and Circe's men, or Odysseus' men got turned into pigs, then if you eat a human, isn't that the food of the gods? Because correlating those two legends with the swine aspect, that would be what it's saying. Granted, it's two different parts of the world, but that was my thought process there.
Yeah, look, it's the same story. It's the same story being told in the Gospels, in the legends, everywhere you go. Disneyland are telling you when they give you Pinocchio. Pinocchio is this little puppet, and he wants to be a real boy.
Yep.
He wants to be real, for God's sakes. Everybody wants to be conscious. That toy wants to be conscious. But what does he do? He gets sidetracked by this one and that one. They say, Pinocchio, you don't need to go to school. Pinocchio, come to the circus, come here. And he gets turned into a donkey. He gets turned into an animal. He has to suffer. Because he gets tricked. You see, and here we are, innocently going to church because we think, oh, for sure, this is spiritual science. We're going to learn how to go to heaven. Now, because we've been lied to and tricked and told that we don't have access to those higher levels of intellect, which we innately have access to when we're born, and they have basically bludgeoned out of us through their mind control techniques, which is the schooling system. Yeah, and belief in an external savior. Brilliant. Yeah. That's the coup. That's the big blow that they drew, and Rome did it the best, man. I mean, just think about it. It's the absurdity of it, that the universe would wait for just 2,000 years ago to decide to debunk all of the old scientists that were around for... There's evidence that the Egyptian science has been around for 60,000 years. One only needs to go to the indigenous wisdom keepers, the true tellers of the history of Egypt down in Egypt. And in fact, I've been invited to go and speak in Egypt, in Cairo, and we're going to go with, I've been invited by the Commission School of Ancient Mysticism. You see? So, by chematologists, not Egyptologists. They would never let me talk in Egypt. Never. Because, your Zahi Hawass types, The pyramids was built by slaves, the pyramids, that buffoon. Well, he's just a lackey for Rome, because Rome wants us to believe that Egypt was, 4,000 years old, perhaps 6 at the outer. Look,
and all, yeah.
And the indigenous wisdom keepers are telling the truth. Stephen Miller, get onto his books, The Land of Osiris, for instance. I'm going to be, teaching stuff out of that book, because that's the true wisdom. We've been told poo-poos. Consciousness on this planet's been around for millions of years. Simple as that.
You're familiar with the Osirian, correct?
Down in Upper Egypt, yeah.
Yeah, it's the sunken temple.
Yeah.
That has the water in the bottom of it. Have they figured out what is below that? Because in the pictures it shows a stairway leading down, but it leads underwater.
Yeah. Interesting site, that one, because it has similar structures to the temple at the Sphinx and another temple at Edfu, and those three, along with the Giza Plateau, man, those are pre-dynastic. Those are from antiquity, and the science that went into building those, forget about trying to replicate today.
Right. Well, I mean, just look at the size of the blocks that they moved. I mean, it's like looking at, say, the Sphinx Temple or the Mortuary Temple, where they're taking a block of stone that's 200 tons and setting it, 14 or 15 feet in the air. I mean,
well,
incredible.
In Carmen Butler's The Pyramid Code, which is one of the best documentaries on Egypt, there she explains Abdel Hakim Aouyan, who's now passed away. He was interviewed there, and he explains that they moved those stones with sound. Of course. Of course you would. Of course, sound is everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, even, are you familiar with the Tibetans and how they use horns to levitate stones?
Yeah,
like
Joshua and Jericho.
Oh yeah, that too. But I mean, even today in Tibet, there's different places in Tibet where the monks have these long horns, and they will blow, and it'll make this note, and they'll have, I don't know, sometimes it's 3 guys or whatever, and they literally, using the sound from these horns, will cause a stone to levitate, and they will levitate it up the cliff, and then the guy standing up at the top of the cliff will just grab it and then set it on the ground.
Yeah.
In Egypt, I guess the theory is that they attach tuning forks.
Ravana.
Yes.
I kind of have a problem with that.
Okay.
Can you document and verify that evidence for me?
Yes, it'll take me a little bit, but I can get that to you for sure.
Or is it based in hearsay?
No, I've actually seen, there's 2 articles in books that I've seen that talk about it, and I've seen a picture of 3 monks with the horns and the stone in the air. There's also one in India at a...
see, if you see it in a book, it's also hearsay, yeah?
Well, yes and no. I mean, depending on the verification, I mean, this was witnessed by several different people, and, there was a photograph of it.
Yeah.
I mean, Photoshop, you can alter photos.
I know. Listen, we would all like to think that there's materialistic, there's spiritualistic, there's magician type things happening in the world, but at the end of the day, we've got to see it for our own eyes. It's like somebody could say to me, I know Jesus Christ was crucified on a cross. Well, can you prove that to me?
Right. I understand what you're saying, for sure.
Photographs, pictures, images, hearsay, literature, written about it, hearsay. Unless you actually witness something yourself, it's hearsay.
Yeah, true enough. Yeah. Well, like I said, supposedly this is still being done in Tibet. So, I mean, do a little bit of research. You could probably find someone and talk to him who's actually seen it done. So. Oh,
again, it's hearsay though. Unless I can actually see it with my own eyes, I could maybe find somebody from Tibet.
Well, they have Skype in Tibet, don't they?
Well, if
you could do it, show you on Skype.
Well, if you can find me a Tibetan monk or something that could hook up with me in Skype, that could show me this, the exact footage, live.
Yeah, that would be something. That would be something,
then I
for
could
sure.
say, yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I will definitely go and find a link for you, though.
Well, fair play. But see, listen, the thing that we're all kind of basically missing here is that everything depends on now. It's now. Everything happens now. There is no yesterday. There is no tomorrow. There was no last night. There is no going to be any fortnight down the line, 2 weeks down the line. Everything is now. It's based on now. Your life is based on now. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and the science behind it is we know that if we vibrate something at the frequency of gravity, which is, do you know, Santo, like, whatever hertz is the frequency of gravity?
No, I don't know.
But we know that like, say if you take a big rock or a chunk of steel and you vibrate it at the frequency of gravity, it becomes weightless. It still has its mass, but it doesn't interact the same way when it's vibrating. But as soon as it comes out of that vibrational frequency, then the mass kicks in again. And, I mean, if you want to talk about legends, there's, you know, supposedly that's how they moved the stones from Stonehenge. Supposedly that's how they moved the stones in Ponate, in Nan Madol, you know. Legends from all over the world talk about it.
Ravana, I don't want to be the guy that kind of pulls a sheet from under your feet there. But again, that's based on hearsay.
I understand. I do understand. But everything is hearsay.
You get what unless it comes from here and now.
Yeah.
Everything is based on here and now. You know? I don't want to poo-poo anything that you're talking about. I don't want to criticise anything that Santos is talking about, because you're probably very knowledgeable in your own fields of what you're talking about. But unless...
Hutchinson.
The Hutchinson effect, yeah.
I think that's what I'm talking about. I think that it's not exactly the same way of doing it, but I think that's basically the same effect. He's using frequencies to cause objects to levitate.
Okay.
I won't guarantee that, but I think that's what's going on. Yeah, I think so. Makes sense to me in my head.
Well, as long as it makes sense to you. But we can still we can still only deal with the here and now.
Right.
If a cop busts into your house right now, how are you going to deal with it?
I'm probably going to ask him why the hell he's coming into my house, to start with.
Right, and he's going to tell you because I have to. Because I've got my orders. Because I can. Because legislation says that I can. Because statute law that says that I can.
On that point, I would say, well, I claim this is my house, and you don't have jurisdiction in my house unless you have a warrant, buddy. Get the hell out. And then he'd probably pull his gun and threaten me with violence, and I wouldn't be able to do anything about it, because he has...
But you're also making a claim there as well, and you told me you're making a claim. So there's lots of things. Okay, listen guys, it's been absolutely fantastic having you on, but this was an impromptu interview, and
well, thank you for having me on. It's been wonderful talking with both of you. Have a good night, and I will sign off.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you, and see you later, guys.
Okay, Ravana, thank you very much, mate. Santos?
Yes?
Any final words from yourself?
Well, I'd like to just encourage people to continue on the path of knowing themselves, really, becoming sovereign, going for it, and embracing the changes that are coming, rather than resisting them, busting the fictions.
Yeah, that would be the ultimate, the penultimate, and then the ultimate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Realising who they are and then busting. It's nice to hear birds singing. Where are you?
Oh, they're just outside my door.
Well,
Yeah, they've got a nest. There's a nest under one. They've been nesting in my my decking roof. I have a large wooden deck outside my house where I watch the sunset, and they've got this nest right there, and they're beautiful.
yeah, absolutely.
All right, Gary, you take care, man. Thanks for calling me up, and we'll talk soon.
Sure, Santos. Take care.
See you, mate. Bye-bye.
Man.